Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Mosh Shinobi, formerly Fed Up, with me, formerly Fed Up Gaz, now Mosh Shinobi. Joining me today is Gerson from the band Cercenatory in Colombia. How is it going today, man?
Oh, good, man. Thank you for having me here. It's a
Oh,
pleasure.
you're very welcome, man. You're very welcome. Been stuck to about this one for a while, so I always like to start with the artwork, before we get into the music. And man, the cover, it really has the brutality that matches the music for sure, and it's really got like that, horror vibe. It almost gives you that impression there's something there. It's going to be devouring everything in its path. So, um, did you come up with that idea as a band and put that to the artist, or whoever did the artwork for you? Did they have total free reign to create that piece for you?
Yeah, well, it's a great story because when we started to write the album, we took a lot from the Divine Comedy, right? So,
Yeah,
like, you see all these pictures, and they're very, very crazy, and some of them are very explicit. So, we
yeah,
kind of came up with our own idea, and we did base our writing in the nine circles of hell. So, we kind of what we did is we told Timbo, which is from Bull Metal Art, and this guy is great. He's amazing. So we just told him exactly what we wanted, and he came back with this piece of art, which we found amazing.
yeah.
And yeah, we just loved it. It was like kind of a first shot thing, you know. We didn't have to play too much with it. He just sent us a sketch. We liked it. We let him work, and everything just. I mean, it's just it was easy to work with him. So yeah, we're very grateful to him.
Yeah, like I said, it really does match the tone of the album. And if you see like the center figure, it's almost as if it's some kind of um my best description here, which might not be good. So here's a disclaimer alert, folks. But it's always as if it's like a tree demon in the center that's devouring everything, and then you have like
Yeah.
in the background, like again, the like tree, like from Lord of the Rings, those kind of like tree creatures, but like a very monstrous demonic version. And then of course you see everything else. I like the how they put the font at the top, and then at the bottom as well, and the color scheme. You've got like the red on the center monster, and then the different colors around, and it's quite a nice blend. So definitely goes with the brutal album, man, for sure.
Yeah, we wanted to make it like as rotten as possible. We wanted to show
Yeah,
that putrid sense of it, and I think we got it. I think we did it the best possible.
yeah. I just realised as I remember in a press release, I think it opens up with something like a nightmare of impossibilities, a forest of skinless dreamers. So that would, yeah, that pretty much says what
Yeah,
you just said. There's a gaff gas already. Um,
yeah,
so so the title man of the album, Goresphere. I mean, that really gives you well, there's no stone unturned there. You know you're going to be in for a brutal ride. So was that kind of the inspiration behind the name of the album? You wanted something that would be memorable, straight to the point, so people would then really get up, like catch on what the music's going to be.
yeah. So we figured that usually nowadays bands they are used to this long names for everything, either for
Yeah,
band names or for album titles, etc. And I mean it's cool, but we wanted something that was powerful and that was catchy. Something that you didn't have to think too much to remember. And we wanted a word, just one word that could describe the whole creation, right?
yeah,
And we played a little bit with it. We read the letters many times, and this is like the best we came out with. We had a few names before that, and this was the one that adapted the best. So we're very happy with the decision. I believe that the album title really describes what the album portrays, and
mm,
it really shows the power and the meaning of what we did during this long 7 years. It was a long time for us to finish it, but we finally got it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And I know what you mean with those long album titles, where it's almost sometimes it's like reading the beginning of a novel. You'd be like this.
Yeah.
It's the only thing. I'm still reading it. I haven't even got to the end, and it's just like, man, all those names as well, where it's like 15 words or something, and you're just like, man, come on, man. I think in extreme metal for the most part, especially in like slam, brutal death, etc. I think it's a little more direct to the point. That's because people usually know the music's like that. It's hard hitting, it's ferocious, it's brutal. You know what to expect. Um, it tends to be. I've noticed it with other genres, and sometimes, as you said, it's like almost if you're reading like an extract from a theatre play or something before, and that's just the title. It's like,
Yeah,
man,
exactly.
like
Yeah, we didn't want to make it a whole novel of a title, you know. We just wanted to be straight up, straight to the point. This
yeah,
is what you're gonna hear.
yeah,
Just picture it, you know. We want to leave something to the imagination as well.
yeah, exactly. Give that bit of mystery, that bit of intrigue, which is always a good thing. So when the album, oh excuse me, opens up, devoured by shadows and an Alice in a mentis exilium, the intro. So this it's got that atmosphere, you know, something's coming. And then of course when we get past this, bang, as we'll get into talking about the opener after the, I guess, the intro. So was that was that what you all wanted with that introduction, for that reason, so people know you've got that build up, and once that starts you hear, you know, the ferocious music and it's smack, that's it.
Yeah, yeah, the sense of expectation, you know, because
Yeah,
this is a very strong music. Sorry, so
yeah,
if we want to make an impact, we want to come up with something that is going to be attractive for this kind of audience, and we want to deliver something right off the bat that they are going to have that, again, that expectation, right? Something's coming, something brutal is coming, something strong is coming. So yeah, we kind of designed every single title so that people knows what to expect from each song, and even from the intro, they know that something very sick, very very nasty is coming. This is all
mm,
about being nasty here. We're
yeah,
not trying to be. I mean, the music may be clean depending on how you analyze it, but really, it's just about being as nasty as possible. We really like the kind of music that we listen to is all music that is very, it's not soft, man. This is not soft. This is just
yeah.
designed for people that's sick in the head, right? So yeah, I mean, everybody that reads that intro, they're gonna say like, hey, you know what? These guys are up to something, you know?
Yeah. So a couple of points to follow up on there with that answer. The first one is, um, and this is a conversation I've had a lot with bands that do the more brutal styles, or even if it's death doom or sludge, you know, that very filthy, raw, guttural, unclean sound. And I always say, how do you maintain that balance of not being too clean, where people say, right, this sounds too polished, too produced. We want to still hear that griminess, rawness, like that gutter sewer stench. But of course, if you go too far on that side, then the music can become unlistenable. Where people are like, well, I can't even hear the instruments, hear the vocals or anything. It sounds literally too raw. So in your experience, how do you reach that balance as a band, so you can present something that's brutal, it's got the good production, but still has that raw, grimy feel?
Oof. Well,
Just
that's
put
a
you on
tough
the
one,
spot
though. That's a tough one.
there.
Yeah, yeah, because honestly, this is a conversation that we also have a lot. And during
Yeah,
this last 7 years, we had that conversation a lot of times. And one of the reasons why we took so long is because we weren't able to find that middle point, that balance between being raw and being completely extreme and being nasty, and being able to deliver something that people is also able to understand. Now, in
yeah,
the majority, for example, in my case, I listen to a lot of raw music and I love it, but also the extreme audience is huge, right? So we wanted something that could have that balance that everybody could enjoy. It really it became natural after 3, 4, 5 years of trying mistake after mistake and trying, and we had to pretty much like compose everything from scratch after 4 or 5 years. Maybe
Whoa.
we grabbed a few things here and there, and then our producer did a great job as well. He's a friend of us for a long time already, since we were probably 19, 20 years old. So he really understands what we want to deliver, and it's fun to work with him because he's always willing to listen. Whenever we don't like something or we believe something can be done better, he's always open to change and open to modify. So it really he had a lot to do in it as well, because without him it would have not been possible, right?
Yeah,
So we got to give him a lot of credit too. But in the same sense, we also, again, it was just mistake after mistake, man. We had to try many times just to find that perfect balance. We believe we got it because it's very understandable, but in the same time, once you hear the first song, you just feel that punch right in your
yeah,
face.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, man, I think we got to give a lot of credit to Dave because he did an amazing job, and we
Yeah.
expect to keep working with him.
Yeah, definitely. And that, I like that very, very honest answer there. That it's a case of editing, going back and forth, talking, getting the right person to do, to work on the sound for you. Because I often think people forget that is quite a challenge for bands, especially when you're making brutal music as well, because it's such a hard middle ground to reach. I mean, okay, bands that do lo-fi black metal, which I'm, not the biggest fan of in the world, but they can kind of get away with something sounding like, I know, it's very undistinguishable because it's historically rooted to sound like that. But man, you're right. When you get past that first, when you get past that intro and the first track comes in, Inquisitor Vortex Soul Torturing. I mean, the title there says, that's not going to be about, I know, uh, having a milkshake in a nice picturesque beach
Yeah.
somewhere. Is it? But man, it really, this is what I love with brutal albums, and you do this perfectly, is when you get past that intro and it starts, and I always feel that opener, especially on a brutal death album or a slam album, it's got to hit you so hard because that's the opener. You're expecting it could be brutal. You want to be on that ride and you want to stay on that ride. It's got to take hold of you. And I feel it's like almost if it's you know a if a pro fighter who's absolutely just launching into you, you're being pulverized. Um, Beautiful brutality, which yes, people outside of this music will think, how come these dudes listen to this? And I always say, look, it's the music, it's the feel of it, it's just the heaviness, what grabs you, and just think of the lyrics. It's like over exaggerated, like horror movies with the soundtrack, and it's the brutality of it. So what I'm interested in asking you, Gerson, was that originally going to be the opener after the intro? Was there another track? That's what I'm just curious about.
So at first it wasn't, because the story is that we're dropping this album through Comatose right now, but it was going to come out under Unmatched Brutality Records a couple of years ago, right? And we released a single for this album back in 2018, but we kind of changed the style too much. And at the end of the day, we didn't like it. Like after we made it, and we almost had everything written, but afterwards, well, that first song what was already built, and we didn't change too much. But after we rethought everything and we redid everything, we knew right off the bat that this was going to be the first song, not only because it's the oldest song from this new album, like the actual album that we're dropping, but also because the way we composed this song, we believe it's just the perfect one to get started
Yeah.
with, right? Because it's very powerful, but it's also very dynamic. It's got some
Mhm.
slow parts. It's got some cool parts as well, like Goratory style, for example, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it really shows like all the different influences that we have in just one song. So I believe it's perfect. This is actually the favorite song from our vocalist. Like he loves that song. So yeah.
Is it for that reason why he loves it, because it's got that wide range and it's bringing in those different influences?
Yeah, because he feels like this song it allows him to do everything that he can possibly do as a singer, right? So he feels very very comfortable singing it, and you can actually notice it when we're playing
Mm,
live. We've played this song live a few times, and every time we play this song live, we just like people go crazy, right? And it's part of that same energy that he also feels and he delivers on stage. So yeah, that's part of it too.
awesome, awesome, man. So this is going to be an interesting story as well. I always like to do deep dives through the tracks. So, um, what inspired the themes for this one? To go with that brutality, you mentioned I think the writing was on the ninth circle of hell, if I remembered correctly.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true, and mostly it. Yeah.
yeah. So do you feel that would just suit the feel what you were going for? Literally, if someone I know finds themselves in this other kind of plane, and obviously it's going to be nightmarish, and you would imagine the music. Well, it fits perfectly. Not that I'm encouraging anyone to go on vacation in hell or anything.
No, but you're actually right, man. And then the thing is, uh, when we wrote this album, especially like the theme songs that you're saying,
Yeah,
I believe that we have to give a lot of credit to Fernando as well, our singer, because he was the one that wrote most of the songs. We maybe put a little bit here and there, but he was really in charge of like everything when it comes to writing the songs and the letters. So it's a shame he's not here right now. I believe he's working because he would have been able to explain that a little bit better than I, because honestly I've read the songs but I don't have the same, maybe
yeah,
like I don't feel it the same way he does. He's the one that has the, he's empowered in that sense. So but yeah, I mean it's just what you said, the nine circles of hell. And then we also, something we've done in all of our albums is that we also create within the topic that we take for our albums. We also like to like bring our own story to it, our own touch, our own a piece of imagination into it, right? So it's usually a combination of something that's been written, but we also like put our stuff into it as well, our thoughts. And here in Colombia, man, Colombia is a crazy country, so we see a lot of shit,
yeah.
and we got a lot of stories to tell as well, and we make sure that we put that on our songs.
Yeah, yeah, that is a really good point, because I'll often ask people like, uh, what are you inspired by? What influences you draw from the real world, around you? And as you rightly said, if you're in Colombia and a lot of the stuff that happens there, we hear about, a lot of the punk hardcore bands from Colombia as well, write about that. So you've got this might not be the most delicate way to put it, I guess, but you've got that actual real world horror around you. So it's, well, we see this, we hear about it, we can take that, we can put it into the music, we can even exaggerate it and take it even further, like in the horror sense. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's there for sure. Um, so I'm curious as well. You mentioned the favorite song of your vocalist, for the range, which was Inquisitor Vortex Soul Torturing. As a drummer, which tracks did you really enjoy playing on this album? And which one, and part two of that loaded question, which songs do you feel really showcase your skills as a drummer?
So I believe that our single, the one we just released, "Crucified,
Yeah,
Guarded, and Desecrated," that's the one
yeah,
I enjoy the most. I think is the one that really like puts me to really work on those drums, and it's
yeah,
very fun to play because it's got everything. It's very powerful, and I'm the type of drummer that I love blast beats nonstop as well. So
yeah,
this song's got a lot of that, right? But then also there is a song number two, for example, which is "Through the Deep Thoughts of Sadistic Tartarian Cannibalism." That song is also very powerful. There's a lot of blast beats into it. Maybe that's not the one that puts me to work the most, but in terms of, let's say, stamina, it takes a lot, right? Because it's just blast beat nonstop from beginning to end. And I really like, I get tired when I'm playing that song for real. And then, like, there is just I believe this album is very complete. But if I could name songs, that would be number one, number two, number five, and number seven.
Yeah,
I think those are gonna be the songs for me, like my favorites to play. Not saying the other ones are bad. It's just those are the
yeah,
ones that I'll take. Yeah.
yeah, 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 for sure. I mean, there's some interesting titles there as well, as you said. Five into the Goresphere, crucified, gutted, desecrated. Uh, charming lullaby through the deep thoughts of Tatatarian sadistic cannibalism. See, my English is even bad. That's better English to me, man. But this is a thing that another thing I think people forget with extreme music, because there can be that stereotype where they'll say, "Oh, anyone can do it. Anyone can do the shouting and growling," and then they'll even say on the drumming, "Oh yeah, it's just hitting drums non-stop." And I'm like, it's really not as easy as that. It's not as simple as that. It's physically demanding. It takes a lot out of you. So when you're playing the blast beats, as you said, you mentioned a song that gets tiring for you. Uh, how do you keep yourself in shape to be able to play at that speed and level? And does it get easier with experience? Do you just get used to playing that style and then it gets a little easier, or no, it's still tough, but you've just got to keep yourself in shape, as I said?
Well, it actually gets easier with time. Like if
Right.
I put it in this in the sense that when I started probably 17 years ago,
Yeah.
I wasn't even able to do blast beats, right? But after some time, you start getting used to it. And to be
Yeah.
completely honest, man, here in Colombia, sometimes it may be hard to, like, for example, people in the United States or in Europe, where you actually have your own studio and you can practice whenever you want. Here is tougher because we have to work a lot here, right? We don't make the same amount of money. We don't
Yeah.
have the same amount of free time as well. So it really gets a lot difficult. And I usually practice only on the weekends, and I barely have time to practice outside of rehearsing and stuff like that. But when I have the time, I do it. I think it's just about the quality of time that we put into the that time that you dedicate to study. And what is a very interesting point as well, because when you were saying before that people thinks that yeah, like it's easy to do, and it's
Mhm.
definitely not easy because it's not just noise.
Mhm.
It may be loud, but it has some order as well. There is a right thing to do it, there is a wrong thing to do it. And I'm not the person to say which bands are and which aren't doing it the right way or not, because it's music is also very subjective. But
True.
there is
Yeah.
also, I believe, there's also like an objective piece of it, and it's still music, man. And music has some rules as well. Techniques are done certain way for a reason, right? So
Yeah.
we got to make sure that we're doing it the right way as well. And we believe we improved in that sense a lot since our previous album, because we know so much more about music now than we had 7 years before. So that's a big improvement right there. And I believe that's also a huge part on why this album is so much powerful than our previous works. And it will be so much better for the audience as well, because they will not only notice the difference, but they will still know it's us. It's this just our mark. It's just that we have evolved. We're doing it better.
Yeah, you're maintaining the essence of your sound and of the band, and as you get more knowledge, more experience, then you can even put out like a better version of what you want to do. You're totally right about the structure. There's a way to do things in music. Like I was saying earlier, with certain sounds will work for one genre, maybe not for another. There still has to be that rule to follow, the patterns, etc., with the drums, rhythms, timing, same the guitars, the vocals. So otherwise, it will be a complete mess. I know, crazy is this sound. There is actually genres out there. Was it noisecore or something where it actually is just a mess, where people like hitting real objects like washing machines and anything. And yeah, I don't get that stuff, man, at
Right.
all. So, I've seen YouTube videos of it, and there was one dude famous. Was it? I'll say this politely, YouTube bottle of urine, but it was called something else, and I think it was in Texas, and he was, this dude's destroying everything on stage, appliances and everything, and it's kind of a mix of, I guess, kind of grindcore power violence vocals with a bit of death. And this guy's going nuts. And then people are all going, yeah, 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 man, yeah, yeah, that's good. I'm like, people actually paid to see, to see that. I'm like, but hey, each to their own. As you said, it's subjective. There's a scene for it. If that's your
Yeah, man.
thing, I'll power to you.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, man. I've been to some shows as well where, like, I mean, we're not gonna like everything, you know. So I've been to some
yeah,
shows that I just see some bands and I'm like, okay, this is not my stuff. To me, sometimes it's just nonsense noise, but some other people enjoy it, man. What you gonna do about that?
yeah, exactly. It's as you said, it's each their own. Excuse me. Now I'm getting a flu attack. One moment. Cough core host at the moment, man. Um,
Yeah.
so how long? I know the second song, Inquisitor Vortex Soul Torturing. That was one of your oldest. So how long did it take overall to put this album together? From I know you the vocalist, did the writing, but then recording the music as well. And you know, when you first finished, um, and I think you were saying earlier you were going, yeah, you did. You'd redone I think some of the songs until you were happy. So just on average, what was the time process to get this to the point where you all thought, yeah, this is what we wanted. We're now happy with this. We're ready to go and put this to Comatose and get this out there for people.
So I think everything really started to get like the real shape after 2018. Like right after we dropped that song with Unmatched Brutality Records,
Yeah,
and we realized that that was not the path we wanted to take. We decided to immediately erase everything, start from scratch. So I believe the process really took about 4 years,
wow,
but we were working very slow. Honestly, we were busy. It was a little bit chaotic for us. Like by the end of 2018, 2019 was very chaotic, and interestingly enough, when we started to really push the musical work forward was during the pandemic, because even though the world was like everything stopped, we actually had a lot of time at home to like really dedicate to study, and we weren't wasting time. We actually, I think it happened to everybody that we realized, hey man, we're lucky actually to be outside. We're lucky to do what we do, right? So now
yeah,
that we can't go out, we still have the opportunity to do what we love. So why not dedicating this time that we used to dedicate to many other stuff, going out and wasting time? Let's just dedicate it to music, man, and let's finish the
yeah,
job. So that's exactly what we did. So during the pandemic, I think is when we really got that strong connection about this album. We dedicated ourselves to really listen to everything that we were doing. And we said, all right, you know what? Now is actually sounding like something we want to drop out. And yeah, I mean, it just started to flow by itself. And by the end of 2022, we had everything recorded already. So this material was ready since last year. But what really took us more time, because Comatose was about to drop this album by this summer, 2023. But
right,
we took
right,
a little bit longer because of, yeah, what we spoke about earlier, finding the right sound for the album. Because it's just not about, yeah, we already composed the songs, that's fine. But how is it going to sound? How is it going to sound to people out there, right? So really,
yeah.
this year was all about that. Since January, we were just focused on getting the right sound for it, and we just got it a few months back, and we said, "Hey, yeah, we're ready,
Yeah.
man."
Yeah, man. I mean, I loved it. People who know me, they say, "Well, yeah, you all you listen to is brutal death, grindcore, hardcore, and everything, the brutal stuff." But what I enjoyed about it, man, is it's obviously got the brutality, the ferocity, the vocals, the guitars, your blast beats. Definitely got so many worthy pit parts as well, which is why I had such fun with it. Thought this is something that you can literally really get down to, and it's a tough question to answer when people ask me, "Oh, why do you like all this like such brutal music as well?" And like I was saying earlier, it's really hard to put into words. And I think the only people, and this is going to sound really arrogant, and I don't mean it to be, I don't mean it to be rude, but I think sometimes the only people who get it is the bands that make this music and the fans that listen to it as well. It's just a feeling. It's just, I think it's just the heaviness. It's like, the extreme ends of heaviness, absolute brutality, and that's what it is. And it's just something that catches you when you hear the drums, you hear the gnarly vocals, you hear that riff. It starts to get me hyper. It's the same when I listen to grindcore and hardcore, which can be really raw, really angry, really fast. And I get the other criticism sometimes from people that will, and I'm not bashing them here because everyone likes what they like, but I'm talking if it's fans who just like more than, I guess, the regular bands, the mainstream bands, and they'll say the same about grindcore and hardcore, where the songs are so fast but so short, and it's so raw, and it's just like straight to the point. And I say, yeah, but that's it. It just gets you so hyped, and then it's the same with slam and brutal death, even some deathcore as well. It's just that feeling, the energy. And there was a point I was going to make with this, and because I've got lost in my own nerdy rambling, that pint, man. Now I'm thinking of alcohol. That would you like licorice? Wasn't it a pint? Would you like a pint, man? Yeah, that point is a skip. So, what is it in your opinion then, as a fan of this genre, as a musician as well as a drummer, that you really enjoy about making brutal music, and how, if someone asked you the question, I guess I was making an example of, to say, look, what is it about this brutal music that you enjoy playing and creating, and why do you like it?
So I feel related with a lot of people that say uh, that sometimes we just got something in ourselves that is looking to maybe release something,
Yeah,
right? Something very aggressive. Sometimes we have so
yeah,
much inside of us, and we don't find a way to release it, and then we just find this strange, deranged music, and we are like, okay, I love this. This is exactly what I was expecting to release all this energy that I've got inside, right? Especially, for example, in my country, and this is something that you said earlier, in my country, there's a lot of things going on, and
yeah,
everybody in the world knows what happens in Colombia, right?
yeah,
Maybe
they
it's
do.
not like in the 80s or 90s right now. It's way better than back in the days, but still, there are many things going on. So it's easy just to get lost in the day to day, and people sometimes they call this land the land of magic realism, right? And it's just because so many things happen, but people, it's like nothing were happening. It was happening, People's just happy. Like the more shit they get, the happier they get. But some people just don't take it that way, and I don't know how it will work in the rest of the world. I'm just speaking for myself,
Yeah,
but this is my case. In my case, I just needed to release that anger, that energy that I had inside of me, right? And one of the things that I loved about playing drums is that it allowed me to release all that energy without, harming anybody or without being an asshole or anything like that, just being a complete human being and being able to release my anger and release my anxiety or whatever through my instrument. And then, I just started to love it. And the more I was listening into brutal music, the music, the more I was digging it. And all of a sudden I was just a brutal head, man, and traveling through the country listening to music and going to concerts. And you start to, you start getting to know other people, and then you realize that the more you travel, the more you know people, they're more like you. Then you feel that,
yeah.
you're not alone out there. It's just
Community, isn't it?
about the same energy, about the same plan. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally, man. It's like, it's a healthy way of venting. I feel, as you say, it's getting those negative emotions out, those feelings, doing something positive with. Great for making this kind of music as well, especially if, like you said, in Colombia or anywhere else in the world, if you're seeing things that you're unhappy about, it's like, right, this is going to make for a song. We'll write this. We'll record some really brutal music. It's like, get this out there, and Yeah, it's fantastic, man, and I'm actually because I'm so eccentric. I actually like scaring people that don't like this kind of music by playing it. We took a buddy of ours to a Brutal Death show quite a few years ago, and it was priceless just to see the expression on his face. It's
Totally,
like
man.
this
Totally.
was about that. It was just the comedy moment that was just absolute magic. But I think when you, and this is what I hope this show helps, when you start to break it down, get into just the work that goes into making this kind of music, I'm hoping that then more people, outside of our scenes respect it and say, look, it's just, there's a lot of craft there. It's just like any other music. It's not, hey, I'm just gonna pick up a guitar, pick up the drums, and I'm gonna make Brutal Death today. All right, it doesn't work like that. I did
That
notice
you
as
know,
well. Yeah, go on, man.
no, I was just gonna say that it's
All
funny
right.
though, because the city I'm coming from, it's a city where you don't find many brutal heads out there, man. Like
Yeah,
I was actually very lucky to find these guys in the same city, same location, liking the same kind of music.
yeah.
And it's funny because you can't imagine how weird we look through other people's eyes in my city. It's just for them we're like ovnis or like UFOs or stuff like that. They just look at us differently. It's very funny, man.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I feel it's like the niche of a niche, because you get some people still be into death metal, be more into the melodic realms. But, but that connection though, what you that you get when you find other like-minded people, oh man, I like this band, and you just share that instant hypeness. It's fantastic. Uh, I noticed as well you played in Mexico. Uh, and you played the Brutal Death Open Air Fest. Um, that must have been a good experience. And were there any memorable moments from there that really stood out?
Yeah, I mean, Mexico was great. Uh, we actually our expectations were a little bit better in the sense that we were expecting to do a few more shows. It wasn't possible. We had to cancel a couple of shows there, but at the end of the day, we played on the main show, and it was absolutely brutal. People showed up. People was very excited, and I didn't know this firsthand. I heard some comments before, but I was lucky to see that with my own eyes how they actually love Colombian music, and they were expecting us
Nice.
with so much love. And when we were playing, like after every song, they were just Colombia, Colombia. So that was great, man. Like watching all these people get so excited about our music, and we weren't even expecting it. We still consider ourselves way below so many bands that are out there that has so big names, and getting that energy from people, especially from Mexico, which we share a lot of culture. It was
Mm,
very special. It was very special. And Saul, which was the organizer, this guy did a very, very good job doing everything for us. The sound was perfect. The location was perfect, even with a pool. And it was really for everybody. We even had kids. Like there were kids out there singing the songs and headbanging and stuff. So that was very magical for us. It was very special.
yeah, and isn't that good that everybody's involved enjoying the music? That's what it should be about, and it's for everyone. That's fantastic, man. So I'm wondering, do you have any shows coming up in 2024?
Right now, we haven't set up like a schedule. We don't have anything booked yet. We're sure things are going to start to happen. I'm already talking to a few organizers here and there because for sure we're going to do a gig. Probably we're going to go to Ecuador, maybe Mexico again, and who knows what. We're still expecting invitations. I think it's too early to say, but probably right after we release our album, I'm sure that we're going to start getting offers. We already getting a couple of offers, so we made. I can't talk about it really specifically because it's not written in stone yet, and I don't want
Yeah,
to say something that's not going to happen.
yeah,
But for sure, you guys are going to listen from us a lot next year because it's going to be packed. I'm sure it's going to be packed.
yeah, definitely, man. Um, but be on the lookout for sure. Do you have any videos coming up to support any of the songs on the album? I know there's the uh, Crucified, Gutted, Desecrated single is on Slam Worldwide. I was wondering if you've got actually any videos of you playing or something you're working on a lyric video or anything like that?
Well, we mostly have like low end videos on the internet, you know, like with this shitty phones and stuff like that, shitty sound. Yeah, man, we're low resource, man. That's also one of the reasons why we take so long to produce. You know,
Yeah,
we gotta do what we can with what we have, but we definitely we have had this conversation for a while now, and if everything goes right, we're gonna drop an official video for that's going to be for Into the Goresphere, which is song number 5, and that's actually my second favorite song of the whole album. My first favorite song is Crucify God and Desecrated. I think that song is just completely crazy, but
yeah,
definitely Into the Goresphere is the one that prints like the essence of the album, I can
yeah,
say. So we're going to take that song and we are committed to release a video for that song. So let's see what happens. Probably we may have it ready just right after we release our album. So let's see what's going to happen.
yeah. There's two other songs I like on there as well, and I thought really nice romantic lullaby tracks, and that is in Infernal Festival of Lecherous Dismemberment, and the last one as well, Phalaris Bulls. I can't even pronounce Sephiric
Seraphic.
Extermination. What was that? Yeah, what was that? Sorry.
Seraphic.
Yeah, traffic, extermination, and infinite carnage. See, man, you know why I'm struggling with my other languages. Can't even speak English. From the barbarian north, you see, we're like a throwback to medieval times. We haven't quite caught up yet. So,
Right. Yeah, and the singer is he loves this medieval story. So you have noticed you've seen a lot of that on our album titles. And once you read the letters, once you read the songs, it's all medieval. So we have a lot of influence from Brother King actually, from Liturgy and from
yeah,
Cinerary as well, and all this great bands. So this is really like the root of what we play comes from there, and we try to emulate what these guys have done. So I think we're going in the right direction. Then those two songs you mentioned, by the way, are also one of our favorite songs as well. I think those songs are great, and they have a lot from you can say they have a lot from Defeated Sanity maybe as well. A
yeah,
lot they have some things from Disavowed as well. So yeah, we kind of brought all of our influences and we say, hey, you know, let's just mix all this and let's come with our own shit.
yeah. No, Sephiric. Now I've got it. I'm like that
Yeah.
sometimes. My mind escapes, and after it's the same when I'm studying language. If I hear how it's said, then I can say it. Sometimes I'll read it firsthand and can't say it, but then once I hear it, so thanks, that man. That was a good save. It'd be like, oh
No
man,
problem, no problem.
Gaz gaffs, man, again. Um, so I'm curious as well, Gerson. How did you get hooked up with Comatose for this one, for this release?
That was kind of a surprise though, because right after we had this issue with Jamie Bailey's a great guy, one of the best bass players that I've seen, and again, he's one of my influences in the extreme music, and I really loved working with him. He's a great guy, but he had some troubles with the label, and it's I think it's public notice right now. Everybody knows that Much Brutality Records is no longer operating,
Yeah,
so that was a down for us. That was really like we weren't expecting that. We didn't know what to do. So I'm usually the one that's in charge of finding labels, finding concerts and interviews and stuff like that. So I just put myself to work and I say, hey, we gotta find something at the same level or higher. And yeah, let's see what happens. So I just decided to send that song, the single, "Crucify God and Desecrated," just that one song. I decided to send it over to a few labels. Some of them got interested, but I wasn't gonna make my decision just right off the bat. You know, I wanted to have I wanted to have everything on the desk before making my decision. And sorry, one of the last things I did was, all right, let's just message Comatose. Let's see what these guys think. And to my surprise, Steve really liked it. I sent it directly to the Comatose Facebook page. I didn't have Steve contact, and then he sent me a response, but from his personal Facebook. Hey, let's talk from my personal Facebook. We started chatting. He said he loved the song. He wanted to know what we wanted to do with the album, what our expectations were, and Steven is a great person. Like it's actually one of the best, if not the best person I've ever worked with, label wise. And he's very, yeah, he's very committed to bands. That's something I noticed. He is like always to the service of fans. I love that because he's always like, "Hey, what do you need? Is this okay? Is this fine? Do you like the way this is? How can we make it better? Do you like how things are working right now?" So everything is being very special. It was a surprise because I was really not expecting Comatose to have such a great response for us. Lucky for us, we had that response and we are very happy with them. And hopefully we can still drop a few more musical works with him. I wouldn't like to leave right now. I still want to work with Steve and the team.
Yeah, that would be great. For sure, and it makes such a difference when somebody has that passion for the music. They actually want to help the bands for the right reasons to support them. They're not just there to make a quick buck and they're out the door. You've had Necrotic Gore Beast and Cryptic's Mortality on the show a few episodes back. I think both of them are on Comatose as well. So that's fantastic to hear, especially as me personally being a fan of this music as well. That's great stuff. Um, Played a lot of their bands on my old radio shows as well, and I get the promos from the likes of Imperative. Shout out to Paul and Chris. So that's great to hear, man. Um, do you have any? Do you have any new merch coming? Any new shirts, hoodies, anything like that? And if so, um, do you all get together and think of the ideas, or do you reach out to possible, artists and ask them for their interpretations?
No, we actually come up with our own ideas. In this case, we're going to have a lot of merch coming up. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of merch coming up. That's for sure. Especially people in the United States, they're going to have it easy because Comatose is right there. They're
Yeah,
going to be printing our shirts with our design right on the front, and then the band's the album title on the back, and then the Comatose logo right on the bottom in the back. So it's going to be a great design. Steven was the one that came up with that. I think it was a great idea. We're going to have the same type of shirt here in Colombia. And then we're also going to have hoodies. We're going to have flags. We're thinking about getting some shorts. We're not sure about it yet, but we're definitely going to have shirts, long sleeves, hoodies, and of course our CDs and some flags out there for people to reach out. I'm not sure if maybe Steven is going to have flags in the United States or hoodies. That's going to be for him to decide eventually, depending on how sales are going and stuff like that. So we're really expecting that our album has that impact, so that the label can put more merch out there and people is actually able to buy merch from the label as well, which is important. We have some people, and there is some issue right now with the shipping. I don't know if it's worldwide or what's up, but at least from here, it's kind of hard to ship stuff. And one of the reasons why we haven't been selling a lot of merch overseas is because the price of the shipping is more expensive than the actual items. So that kind of sucks because that's
yeah,
breaking the whole industry, man. How bands are going to make a profit if your government is making it that difficult for you to sell your product, right? And to get something out of it. So that's really what's been holding us back right now. But with the help of the label, I'm sure we're gonna work something out. And at least now we're gonna have some merch in the United States. They're always gonna be there. So yeah, people can maybe get it a little bit easier.
yeah. That's absolutely fantastic to hear, and hopefully on the international market, things get less difficult so that the merch can get out there as well. I've got a random nerdy question for you as well. It's still music related, and this is something. This just be me. There might be other people who thought of this. This could just be my nerdy mind. When you see like fighters in artes martiales mixtas, and they're coming out, and sometimes they'll have like a hard rock theme, and I've always thought, man, wouldn't it be awesome if somebody come out with a brutal death song for once? And there's got to be people there that like that music as well. There's got to be. So you know where I'm going with this. And
Yeah.
I can't imagine you're going to say, "Oh, of course not. Of course we wouldn't like to have a fighter come out to our music, guys." I mean, who wouldn't? But wouldn't that be fantastic, man? If one of your songs, a fighter had that as his theme coming out, I think that would be superb, especially for UFC or even one of the other MMA leagues out there.
Yeah, I think it would be great. We actually we have had thoughts about that as well. And something we did in some shows as well is that we had a few performances with bondage and stuff like that live. So like that's always interesting because that catches the audience attention. I think the
Yeah,
MMA stuff would be great though because most of the extreme music listeners that I know, they do love MMA. Like they
yeah,
do love it, and you know the combination will be perfect because it's violence here. And you
yeah.
put that together, that will be very explosive, man. I think that will be. You should do that in the UK, man.
Dude, I'd love to. That's that was what I was thinking of, and I say it all the time because sometimes, again, I'm not, everybody's taste each their own, and I'm not going to sit here and say hypocrite and say I don't like other music outside of all the brutal stuff. Of course I do, but I've always thought, and sometimes you hear like it'll be a hard rock track, and you feel like this doesn't kind of go. I thought I'd love to hear someone. You imagine them, they're coming up like behind the curtains before they walk out, and you hear that man, I think people would go nuts for that, and it would get people's attention because it would be something different. And I hope somebody does it one day because I feel when one fighter does it, then we'll see more of that, and it would be so different as well because you imagine the fans, the people there, not just watching, but the people there in those stadiums, arenas, they'd be like, "What the hell is this? We haven't heard any." It would catch their attention, and you've got that coming. That would get people so pumped up. I think that would be fantastic. Uh,
Yeah, man. I think you guys should try it over there. I don't know how affordable it would be here in my country.
yeah,
Maybe in Bogota, the capital, probably you're gonna have a nice venue over there. But I don't know about the rest of the country. But I'm sure it will be a good thing in the UK, though. You should try it
yeah,
sometimes and see how it works.
yeah. Why not? If someone will actually respond to me, that would be good. Say, hey, man, yeah, for sure. So, you mentioned earlier as well that, and this is something that I think we can relate to because wherever we're from in the world, because it is kind of the niche of the extreme scenes. So you mentioned there were many other brutal heads, in your city. So since you've started, I know you've done shows where you are as well. Have you been able to turn more people on to this kind of music? Help a little scene start to grow.
Yeah, actually, I also organize some shows, some concerts in my city. I actually moved from my city right now, so I'm not sure how I'm gonna do that from now. Probably travel a couple times a year, or I don't know. But yeah, I've been lucky to since I was young. I met all these great bands from Colombia, such as, for example, Amputated Genitals, which I'm actually
Right.
lucky to play with as well.
Wow, nice.
Carnivore, the Prosopus, Internal
Yeah,
Suffering, Gore Trade, Carnal, and
nice.
Necropsy, and all these great bands. So I know most of the guys from bands out here. So I was very lucky to bring a lot of those extreme bands to my city. I was actually I think I was the first one. Maybe we had one show before me, but I think I was the first one that started doing that like consistently. And yeah, to my surprise, we started getting good response. At some point, it wasn't that good, but this right now it's like raising up again. We're seeing like in the last concerts I did. Uh, Many new faces as well, which is good.
Nice.
And the best thing is that these new faces, they are actually buying merchandise. They're
Yeah,
buying the CDs, they're buying the shirts, and they're always excited about what's going to come next. So they're always asking me like, "Hey, Gerson, where are you going to bring the next band? Why don't you bring Internal Suffering? Why don't you bring this band? Why don't you bring the other?" So like
yeah,
that's a lot of motivation because I say like, "Hey, this new generation is starving for music. That's great. That what we're doing it's somehow influencing other people and the new generations in my city to keep doing the same." In terms of they playing music, I don't know. I haven't seen any new bands in my region or in my country that are playing such extreme music. It's more like old school death metal, maybe thrash metal. But in terms of supporters, yes, we have had better response than at least from when I started. There was nothing, man. It was nothing. It was just one band which I like a lot, which is called Incinerating Prophecies. We're good friends, and just a couple years ago, we decided to make our own band, and from there, we just we started to become very good friends. We decided to make a few shows. Then I took it from there by my own, and yeah, man, it was just great to see all these supporters, these new faces showing up and headbagging and always asking for more. That's always great.
That's really good to hear, man. Especially that it's garnered that interest from people and they're passionate. Fantastic, man. So I know the album doesn't drop until February the 16th on Comatose Music. So keep that date in your mind, folks. Get on there and pre-order it. But I'm just wondering if there's been any reviews, because these albums are sent out in advance to reviewers, and has there been any review that's really stood out to you guys that you feel has nailed it, really got what the music's about?
I'll have to say Imperative PR. I think they did a great job. They really took the time to listen to the whole album, and they work hand in hand with Comatose as well. So I think they did a really, really great job listening to every piece of the album, every song from beginning to finish, from start to finish. And they described the album exactly like I would describe it. Like I wouldn't put it in any different words than what they did. I think that was perfect. But we have also seen all the reviews, and it's very interesting though because they haven't heard the entire album yet. They have just heard a song, and we've seen reviews from Brazil, from Portugal, from Spain, Latin America, some others in the United States, in Europe, and it's very surprising that it's just been a couple weeks and we're getting all this information out, and the album is still not out there. So everybody's like putting what they've been listening to in their own words. I think they have all described it in a very, very good way. But if I had to choose one, definitely that would be Imperative PR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's excellent here. Massive shout out to Paul and Chris. Those guys have sent me stuff, oh man, for a very, very long time back, going back to my former radio shows. Really stand-up guys as well, and genuinely care about the music with the bands that they work with. So yeah, that's fantastic, man. I'm sure there will be. It's going to be nice when it does drop as well, and then there'll be even more reviews. People get that bug as well. Like, oh man, yeah, this is brutal stuff. So that's going to be excellent for sure. I just wondered, do you, and this might be too early to say, but I'm going to ask it because, I've had a lot of guests come on the show, man, and they've already wrote the next album, and even before the current album is released, or they're working on new stuff. So I'm going to ask it, have you started working on new material for the next release yet, or that's too early at the moment?
That's actually a very interesting question. And yes, we have actually
Whoa.
started. We have one song already. It's not completely done, but I think we're going in the right direction. What we want to do next is we we can say that probably when we released our first musical work, which was our EP, Glorification of All Mental Diseases, we were just rookies, man. We had no idea what we were doing. We just wanted to have fun. We didn't have in our plans to sell that CD at all. To our surprise, we had it sold in like everywhere in the world, so that was good. When we released our first official album in 2016, Swallowed by the Apocalypse, we were already taking it very serious, but I believe we didn't have like a style defined yet, right?
Yeah.
But with this current album, we found what our real style is. Like, this is exactly the type of music that we want to do. We want to keep doing it this way. And of course, we want to evolve. We want to do some things better, but never leaving the extreme aside, because it's very common that bands start writing new albums and then I don't know what happens. I don't know, but it usually happens that they just do something that's musically very good, very rich, but there is no brutality on it. Like the brutality
Yeah,
is just gone, right?
yeah,
So we don't want to do that. We know what we like. This is what we do. This is what we love. This is what we listen. We're not gonna go listen to anything else. We're not gonna go get different influences for our next album. This is what it is. This is Cercenatory. This is the thing, right? And yeah, we already have one song, man. That it's definitely gonna be a killer. Of course, it's soon to say how it's going to sound and everything like that, but you can expect at least the same style, but a lot of power into it, definitely.
so yeah, it's so you're going to really amp up the sickness.
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, this is what it is about, man. Like we're not here playing games or playing the brutal band, man. We are a
Yeah,
fucking brutal band. This is what we
yeah,
like, right?
yeah,
So we're not gonna leave our conviction and what we like and because this is a lifestyle for us as well, right? So we're not gonna put our lifestyle aside just because we want to come up with something that sounds pretty and it's going. Nah, we don't care about people that don't like this kind of style. If you don't like it, man, good for you. Go listen to another type of music. Go listen to whatever bands you like out there. We're not for
yeah.
you. We are for the people that likes this kind of music.
Sorry, another brutal cough attack. Yeah, totally. That's music to my ears, no pun intended. Because I like the grindy elements that you have in your music as well. So that's great because it's another brutal style I love. So yeah, that already has me anticipating the brutality just being notched up another level. Not to put more pressure on you there by saying, right, you've got to now do something even more brutal. Like, thanks for that, Gaz. Yeah,
No, but you know what, man? I think it's good to have that pressure because we put that pressure in ourselves as well.
yeah,
Because when we wrote this album, the first thing we said was, "How are we going to write our next album? Like we're out
yeah.
of bullets,
So
right? So we gotta figure it out."
is that a challenge? Is that a challenge then when you release something so brutal? It's like you said, how are we going to follow this up and do something that is going to either going to be even better than that? Because now the fans are expecting that. You know, we put this out there, good quality album, completely brutal, absolutely slays. So now we've got to deliver. That must be an added challenge.
Totally, totally. It's definitely a challenge because we, we make music for ourselves, but also for the fans out there. So we know that as soon as the fans start liking the album, they're going to expect at least the same or better. And we
Yeah,
cannot go back. We cannot go back and do something that is more simple, or we cannot do that. So it's definitely a challenge, man. So right now, I'm not sure if probably this time we're gonna take what 10 years or so. Like I don't know. It took us 7 years to get to this point, but definitely it's a promise that if we release something else, we're not gonna
but
go backwards, man.
but I take a positive from that, man, because what I'm drawing from that answer there is that you only release something when you're all happy with it, when you're satisfied, it's at that level, it's at the quality that you all like, then the fans are gonna like that because at first the music has to be for you guys. Once it has to be. If you
Yeah,
don't like it, no, that's not gonna be good for anyone else. And that's actually, as I said, that is a positive rather than okay, some bands can release an album every 2 years and do good quality. That's fantastic. The ones that can, but then there's others I feel that just release for the sake of releasing, and it's a bit filler. You know, the quality isn't there; it's subpar. So to hear you say no, you know, I don't know. Hopefully, it's not like 50 years. It does come out sooner, but that you're
yeah.
patient and that you want the best out, the best release that you all can make. You know that's good to hear, man, because that shows you obviously really care about what you're doing.
Yeah, and you know why? Because the way we think, we don't think as a band. We think as supporters. We're
Yeah,
supporters too. We buy music. We go to concerts. So we know what we want to expect from bands. We know what we want to hear when we go to shows, to concerts, right? So we put ourselves in the other supporters' shoes. So
yeah,
we won't release something until we're completely sure we like it as supporters, not as a band. So we are the worst people critiquing our job is ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So with that said, then I'm gonna jump on that point. So you just said the worst critics are yourself. I think anyone in the arts can certainly relate to that. Whatever kind of music they're making, those who are write, or if they're in film, whatever it is, um, you often can sometimes be in those moments where you've wrote a piece of music, you've played that music, or you've wrote the lyrics, and you're just not happy with what you're doing. I hate those times. It's like, man, this sucks. You just don't like it no matter what. So when that happens as a band, how have you got past that? How have you got to that point where it's like, yeah, we're going to be happy with what we're doing?
I think the key is not to get frustrated with it, because
Yeah,
something I've found, we've been playing together for 11 years now since we created this band, and separately, probably 15, 16 years. So, one of the things that we found out is that every time we get together and we jam, things just start happening. So, we don't have to force it, we don't have to push it. We just, hey, you know what? Nothing is coming up, let's go ahead and have fun, man. Let's get together, let's play, and if something comes up, we start writing from there. So we don't just get like out of the blue starting getting ideas here and there. Like sometimes we have ideas of our own and we put it together, but if it's not happening that way, we just go to the rehearsal studio and have fun, man. I think that's the most important part, and I think that's something that some bands out there forget. And I don't want to say any names or point fingers or anything, because that's not the idea. But I think the most important thing is not just think as a band, think as somebody that's having fun. I think
yeah,
that's what's all about.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Got to enjoy it, that passion. Yeah, totally. I've had people give me, various different answers when I've mentioned that to them. Some, have taken time away, or they've just fought through it. Um, but I think certainly one key point is not to give up. Is just keep going, and then the enjoyment. If you don't have that enjoyment at that time, it will come back. It's the same in perfect excuse to mention football here. It's the same in football. When you get players who aren't happy with the way they're playing at a time, and they'll say, right, they just go through it, and then they'll find the form again. The striker will start hitting the goals. Yeah, so there we go. So when you're not pulverizing the planet with your brutal sounds, what else do you enjoy, man? It's the like football, for example. What would be some of your other interests?
Well, personally, I love football. Actually,
Yeah.
my city's team just won the championship, the national
Hey.
championship. So yeah, it was like a huge party, man. We were very happy about it. I really enjoy football, and my
Yeah.
bandmates also, like, they enjoy football.
Same.
But we play football. Actually, we get together every week on Tuesday. We play during the night for an hour and a half or two. We have fun. I'm actually quite a good player as well. Uh, I'm actually I wanted to be a football player when I was a kid. That was my dream.
Yeah, we
But
all we all
that didn't
did.
happen. Yeah, so that didn't happen, and I just say, look, okay, so the second best thing to it is music. So I
Yeah.
got into music deeply, and I mean I'm happy about the decision at the end of the day. But it's very interesting to think how my life would have been if I would have become a football player. It would have been maybe
Yeah.
totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but mostly, man, like we spend time. We usually get together just to listen to music. Like that's really what we enjoy the most. So we usually get together. We have some drinks. We smoke some pot, and yeah, we just listen to music and let it go, man. And it's interesting because most of the times when we get like ideas to write new songs is when we just get together like that as well, just drinking and having some fun,
That's it.
talking
Yeah.
and talking about life. And then we're listening to music, and then like, hey, why don't we do something like this? And we start writing from it. So it's always a good time to write.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've got that natural camaraderie. That's really good to hear. What position do you play in football?
uh Forward.
Forward striker. Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Striker and
striker, yeah.
goalkeeper. Striker and goalkeeper here. Yeah. Uh, well, that's absolutely great to hear, man. Um, I'd love to see you get over here, man, as well. Because I was just thinking when you were saying shows, I thought, man, them with Ingested, that would be a show for sure. That would be a brutal one as well. That would be great stuff. So, um, is there any is if there was another kind of music that you could make? I know you like the brutal stuff we all do, but okay, I'll put it like this: if what other brutal form of music would you like to play if you had the time? Because I know you're a very busy guy.
Well, I mean, rock wise or extreme wise, I would love to do everything. Like I have played for black metal bands, I have played grindcore as well, but
Yeah,
like rock aside, I'm a big fan of techno as well and house. Like I really dig into electronic music, and I also go to shows and stuff. I like it, and I don't think like a lot of people will say that that takes a lot from a metalhead. I don't think that's the case. I think you can actually have a good relationship with both. You can listen to one thing and listen to another thing, and it should not make a difference.
I used to think like that. I used to think like that in myself until I discovered the underground in techno music, dark techno music, dark house.
Yeah,
A lot of those artists and bands in that scene and the DJs, a lot of them are actually metalheads as well. If you look at the
yeah,
song titles, you can tell they're all death and black metal guys. And I think, was it John Wick 4? They featured some dark techno. It was in the club scene and John Wick 2. And I feel that's helped promote that music. There's a guy, okay, and I've mentioned him on the show before, and I mean no bad in him personally. I don't know him, and I'm not saying he's not talented, but I prefer this guy's early music. He's originally from Ecuador. I think he's in Germany now, and he's called Zardonic. And his early stuff, I feel, was a little rawer. And it was essentially like taking black metal vocals, fusing it with Texas. I'm thinking of Texas death metal now. I mean, fusing it with techno, with some extreme metal riffing. It's got a bit, sadly, he's got very popular now, and it's. I feel his music now has got a little bit soft compared to his early material for me. But no, you're right with the. I like I was said at the start of this rambling rant. Um, I used to think like that myself until I discovered the underground, which is separate from the more popular ends of electronic music. It's like a whole other underground scene. You get you even I've had other metalheads say the same. You know that they're into that music as well. You get some punks there, and it seems to be this other whole underground community that's quite different to the wider techno scene. It's got people from different musical scenes coming in there doing their interpretations, and some of it, man, is I know maybe excuse me, the heaviness isn't there like that we have say with Death Grind Slam, Brutal Death, for example. But the themes and when you hear the music is just as dark and nasty. Some of it really,
yeah,
really,
yeah.
really grimy and gritty. It's not how someone would think, oh, it'll be really soft and light and poppy if it's techno. No, it's kind of like an underbelly.
Yeah, that's exactly what I loved about it, because at first I was also very like close-minded when I got into extreme music. All I wanted
Same.
to hear was just extreme music.
Yeah,
But my city is very diverse, and I know a lot of people on the techno and house music. So they showed me a bunch of underground stuff. And when I heard it, I remember saying, dude, maybe this is not as extreme as I hear, as I'm used to listen, but definitely this is freaking dark. Like there is something dark into this. Like I dig this. And I started getting deeper and deeper and deeper into it, to the
yeah,
point that I really, really loved it and enjoyed it, and started going to concerts and stuff. So I think it's good. I think that, man, everybody can do whatever they want with what they listen and what they want to do in life. And nobody else is nobody to tell, like, hey, you know what, you shouldn't listen to that type of music, because
yeah,
it's very personal.
yeah. I agreed. I was like that when I first got into extreme music. Death metal is nothing else is real, etc., etc. And I'm not going to sit here and say, hardcore, grindcore, and death metal aren't my favorite forms of music. Of course they are, and that's what I mainly listen to. but it doesn't mean I don't listen to anything else. I'm a huge underground hip hop guy, and I get lots of heat about that because people then think, oh, well, you mean in the mainstream, all the mumble rap. I'm like, no, there's a whole underground where there's real lyricism, where you can actually hear what the guys are talking about. There's conscious lyrics. You've had. I talked to a guy, oh man, a long time ago who did a show out in Colombia actually. Um, and he loved it, and they'll write about like inspired by everything that they see around them, things that are happening, you know, even bad stuff. So there's real conscious lyrics there. So now I think there's a generally an underground in everything, and yes, we've got our favorites, but real is real. If it's real music, it's authentic. And hey, I'm not saying everyone wants to like, you know, the poppiest of pop, all power to them. That's for them. Might not be what that's torture to me if it's too squeaky
Yeah.
clean. But yeah, man.
You know what else as well? One of the genres that I enjoy the most is salsa, man. And the
Yeah,
reason why is because salsa. I come from a tropical city, and there's a lot of salsa out there. But also, people may think salsa is like like for festivities, and it's very like a happy music. But once you start getting into the underground of it, you start knowing a side of that genre that is very dark as well, and you'll listen to some songs that actually involved a lot of craft, and they tell stories about indigenous when they were colonized, and they like it's a very interesting genre, and also musically wise, musical wise is very also rich, is very rich musically. So as a musician, I think that it's a mistake to only listen to one genre, because you can actually grab so much from other genres.
agreed.
And
Agreed.
if you know how to do it right, you can actually do it in your own music as well. So yeah, that's
Agreed. Agreed. It's keeping you open to all those different sounds and influences. And, you know, people might think, oh, well, how are you going to draw inspiration, say, from the underground salsa scene? Excuse me, the underground salsa scene. You could hear something, think, right, I can do a brutal take on that, or I can incorporate that element, and we can put a twist on it. All manner of possibilities. Because if you only just stay in that one lane, then that stops you from having your own identity within the band. Because then it's like, oh well, these guys say just sound like Devourment, for example, Internal Bleeding, or you know, Cannibal Disproces, you know, whoever. Um, so that enables you to come up with your own spirit, put that on there. Interesting. I'm already curious about this now with the history of underground salsa, because you mentioned talk a lot about um, you know, when Colombia was colonized. I did an interview with a guy from Estador, also from Colombia. He does more like I guess extreme metal with folk music, but in the
yeah.
language of the more the native language of Colombia, which I found fascinating, and I find native cultures, you know, first world nations as well, very interesting because we don't hear about that often, you know. So it's nice that gets out in music as well for people to hear for that for sure. So with that said, here's one for you before you know we wrap things up today. Would you guys ever be interested in doing something like that in the music, in the brutal version, like paying homage to the roots and the ancestors?
Yeah, and I believe that's the path that we're about to take. I think that it's
Nice.
very important to. I think it's very important to bring our roots to what we're doing.
Yeah,
And even though we have been doing it, but not in the sense of bringing our ancestors into it, but more in the sense of speaking about what happens actually, let's say from the beginning of the 900s up to date, and
yeah,
all the struggles that we've been as a country. And we always try to put that, like, leave that print out there in our music, but we haven't actually get into our ancestors before that time, before the independency wars and what was going on with the indigenous people out here. But that is definitely something that we also want to get into. We like our history. We learn a lot about our history. We know a lot about our history, and I think we have a lot to speak about when it comes to our colonization up to date. So I'm sure we can actually deliver something very powerful, and I think you probably guys will be hearing some of that in our next productions for sure.
Oh, that's excellent, man. That I'm really really excited to hear that. That's fantastic stuff. So, man, um, when I always get to the end of the show, I like to give guests the opportunity to shout out anything they would like, not just the band and album, of course, I'll do that, but if there is anything outside of Cercenatory that you would like to shout out, the floor is yours. So I'll just mute out and you shout out whatever you want, man.
Oh man, first of all, thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity to be here. It's a shame that my bandmates weren't able to join the interview and be with us. But anyways, I'm pretty sure that they're listening to us at this very moment. And to the audience out there, all I can say is, hey man, we're just four sick motherfuckers that came here to do music. You know, we're sick in the head. Don't expect less from us. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing. This album is gonna be completely insane, man. If you like what we did, if you like that first song, every single song, every piece of that album is gonna be completely sick. So I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy it. And outside of speaking for my band, I just want to leave the message out there, guys, that this is a kind of a tough moment for brutal bands. It's been very tough with, you know, not
Mm,
only it's not competition because I don't see it that way, but the industry, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of tough at the moment. It's messing up with bands. So this is the moment for all supporters and for all brutal heads to show bands you really love, how you can support them and how you can help them to become what you want them to become. So you just keep supporting bands, man. Keep showing up to shows, keep buying merch, and keep spreading that disease and that love, man.
well, well, de nada, mi amigo. Yo disfruto nuestras conversaciones. Yo creo muy interesante. Uh, very welcome, man. Very interesting conversation. I enjoyed it from start to finish. You know, and that's not just because I'm into the music. People are like, oh, you would say that, but no, I feel it really broke it down for us. But in the new year, you know, next year at some point, we can get you back on with the rest of the guys and give them perspective as well. I'm sure people would enjoy that. Shout out to all the musicians in the background as well. Keep doing what you're doing. 100% agree with you, folks. If you like all these bands, whatever genre they play, you know, it's tough at the moment. So help them any way you can, even if it's only a single you can afford, or you know, the shirts, everything helps. And if you want to see more music, that's what it all helps fund for sure. So, just before hit end streaming, we've got the delay. You know, I want to say Feliz Navidad y disfruta el fin de semana. And everyone else, I shall see you. Now, this is interesting. It's the holidays, isn't it? About so
Yeah.
I won't see you until, well, folks, I will be uploading some videos on the channel, probably on Ninja stuff, and be doing some cross streaming with my buddies at Planet X Films, maybe some movie reviews. But for the most part, all the bands, and rightly so, are on a break during the holidays. So the interviews will return in 2024. So get at me if you would like to come on the show. Don't forget to support and subscribe. I'm usually on here verbally polluting and destroying languages from all over, even my own, anytime I'm on. Um, I'll put all the links as usual for Cercenatory in the description, folks. Definitely go and support them again. Thanks to Justin for joining me. Good stuff, man. So we're going to hit end stream, and then we've got that delay where I look possessed as usual. So let's do it.